your girl E, and we are back at it again with another lemon squeeze episode. Y'all, I am so excited to be here right now because this is my very first video podcast, and I literally have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm here. But I am here, okay? And that is all that matters. If this is your first time here, my name is E, and this is the Lemon Squeeze. Here at the Lemon Squeeze, we believe that sometimes God is going to have to squeeze you a little bit in order for you to produce something greater, okay? So let's just jump right on into it. I want to do some new things this year. Like, for one, I want to start wearing more like Christian brands. I think that would be really dope. I actually have on one right now. It's from the PIA tour, the Poets in Autumn tour from this past year. And it was so dope, y'all. It was so amazing. And I got this shirt. The shirt says that God can take you places that hustling can't. And I think that's fire, okay? Fire. So fire. And I want to wear more Christian brands on my channel. I really do. So if you know of any Christian brands, please link them down below. And I would love to support. I would love to rock it here on the Lemon Squeeze. So let's jump right on into this topic, y'all. Let's get into it. It's a lot to get into, all right? As you can see, this episode is titled Daddy Issues. Yikes on bikes, all right? Yikes on bikes. But I wanted to talk about daddy issues from a different perspective, though. I feel like we hear a lot about daddy issues from the angle of what it says about you. So it's like, oh, you have daddy issues, so you're angry, or you have trust issues, or what's another one people be saying, y'all? People be saying a whole lot of stuff, honestly. And the thing is, those things could very well be true. You might have trust issues. You might be hard to deal with. It could be true. However, just because something is true, it doesn't negate the need, or it doesn't negate the fact that you're worthy and you're deserving of compassion too. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people forget, that when we talk about fatherlessness, we're called to be compassionate. So I wanted to read actually Psalms chapter 68 verse 5, and it reads, God in his holy dwelling is a father of the fatherless and a champion of widows. And I love that word champion because it shows that there's a lot of love in compassion. There's a lot of love in advocating for people. So I wanted to start off with that. But let's get into the tea, honey. Let's get into the tea of this episode. When I think about daddy issues, I think of Hagar and Ishmael. Honestly, that's the first story that comes to my mind. So let's turn to Genesis 16 real quick. And y'all, I have my Bible in front of me. I have my notes in front of me. So if y'all see me looking down, looking up, that's why. All right. And bear with me. This is my first time. All right. And if my lash is falling off too, it's not. We're going to pretend. We're going to pretend like it's not. So let's give some background story to what's going on in Genesis 16. So basically, Abraham and Sarah, they can't have a baby, or they believe that they can't have a child. So Sarah is like, hey, look, I have an Egyptian slave. Her name is Hagar. Go ahead, do your thing. Abraham ends up doing his thing. Hagar gets pregnant. And in the word, it says that there was like some feelings of contempt going on. You know, like it started to become some animosity. And because of that, Sarah started to treat Hagar very poorly, started to treat her badly, honestly. And Hagar, she ran away. She got up on out of there. And that's where we're going to pick up from. So as I was reading this story about Hagar and Ishmael and Abraham and Sarah, I was just like, dang God, like all of this is going on already over a child that's not even here yet. Like Ishmael hasn't even been born yet, and there's already all of this resentment and bitterness and animosity. Like, is Ishmael the drama? Is Ishmael really the drama right now? And my guy's not even here yet. But I really related to that though. I felt it a bit because it's one of those things to where, how do I put it, y'all? It's like, it's a confusing reality. Honestly, it's a very confusing reality to where it's like, it wasn't really anything that you did. It wasn't really anything that you said. It wasn't really how you acted. It was just the fact that you exist. Like, that's where the resentment and animosity comes from, is because you exist. And in the context of fatherlessness, that's a really weird place to be in. But me, I learned to kind of cope with it through humor. So, and one thing is about me, I love to laugh. I'm gonna laugh, all right? It could be an uncomfortable situation, it could be anything, and I'm gonna laugh, child. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with humor. I think humor has gotten me through a lot, honestly. And I laugh at a lot of daddy jokes, I ain't gonna lie. Like those jokes to where they be talking about the dad, he go to the gas station, or he go to the store and he never come back. But I had to sit down with myself and really ask myself, like, E, why do you joke about your life being a mistake so much? Like, because that is something that, you know, I would laugh about often, is, you know, being a mistake. Like, why am I speaking about my life, whether it's humor, a joke, or not? Why am I speaking about it as if it's something that was never supposed to be here? As if it's something that was never supposed to come about? And it took root in my heart in ways that I didn't even really realize, because of what being fatherless, the standard that it set. So what I mean by that is, like, you know how parents, when love is the standard, they make love the standard because it's like they want their child to be able to recognize it in other people, so that way they're treated accordingly. And for me personally, when disappointment is the first standard, you get really good at recognizing that too. And for some of us, we even get good at avoiding it. And we tend to talk about fatherlessness in the ways that, how it manifests. So for instance, it can manifest in a way of you being angry, or it can manifest in ways of you being promiscuous, you know. But for me, it manifested in self-sufficiency. I was very self-sufficient, and I was proud of it. Honestly, I was very proud of it. And God told me, like, hey, E, look at the definition of sufficient. And I'm like, dang God, am I using it wrong? Am I? But it really brought about a lot of clarity once I looked at the definition. So sufficient means, and I wrote it down right here, it means to be adequate or enough. And being adequate and enough was a major key for me in context of avoiding disappointment. So it's like, I'm going to do everything myself. I'm going to be sufficient enough so that way you don't even have the chance to disappoint me, because I'm going to do it. And better yet, I'm not even going to ask you for help. So there's literally no chance in hell that you're going to disappoint me. And it worked. It worked for me in a lot of different ways. And God brought me to 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9. And it reads, "But he said to me," why did I read it like that? I'm sorry, let me put some authority and some power in my voice. I'm sorry. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9, it reads, "But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is perfected in weakness." And that really stuck to me, because what I perceived as sufficient and what I perceived as me operating in my power, God's grace was even more sufficient than what I thought that I was doing. And I thought that I was doing the right thing. I thought that I was protecting myself. I thought that I was taking back my power. Let's put it like, let's be real. I thought I was taking back my power, but because I was at the root of my sufficiency, it was evidence that I was weak. It was evidence that I wasn't very sufficient at all, actually. And it was evidence that I was hurt. And that's okay. Like, I want to stay right there for the rest of this episode, actually, I just want to stay right there. You were hurt. You operated out of self-sufficiency or whatever it may have been. And that's okay. Sometimes we make room for more hurt, more self-sufficiency, and things of that nature when we just want to rush past the offense in the name of being okay. And for a while, I confused being okay with being past it, or being over it, or not acknowledging it as much. But the reality is, you were hurt, you were mistreated, you were neglected, and that deserves to not be rushed past. God was showing me that I didn't have to be past it. I didn't have to avoid disappointment. I didn't have to run away. I didn't have to do everything myself. I didn't have to be a people pleaser. I didn't have to make jokes. I didn't have to accept abuse in order to believe that I was genuinely wanted. So let's turn back to the story of Hagar and let's read Genesis chapter 16, verse 13. And it says, "So she named the Lord who spoke to her, 'You are El Roi,' she said. 'In this place, have I actually seen the one who sees me?'" Woo! Y'all. Hey, fire. That was fire. And this verse inspired me to just stop the episode right here at Hagar being hurt. Because I feel like the world and people, honestly, they have a way of applauding us when we accomplish something. So it's like, oh, you forgave? Like, woo! Like, you go, girl. Or you reconciled? Like, that's dope. I know that's right. But Hagar said something that just really stuck out to me in the text. Hagar said that God saw her in this place. Now, mind you, Hagar she ran away. She was with child and she was hurting. So the fact that God saw her in that place, I really wanted to encourage us and people who are like me and people who are dealing with fatherlessness or people who are dealing with motherlessness, whatever the case may be, that God not only hears you, but he sees you too. Like, God has really placed people on this earth who won't define you by somebody else's decision. God has placed people on this earth who won't reduce your life to a statistic about broken homes. Christ knew that your life was worth dying for, and that's not a mistake. And it never has been, and it never will be. And I really want to stress, no, actually not even that I want to stress, I want you to believe that you were first perfectly loved before anybody on this earth ever had the option to. So y'all, this was so much fun. Y'all, I was literally pooping bricks at the beginning of this episode because I was so nervous. I didn't want to say the wrong thing. I didn't want to stutter over my words, but the nerves really just melted off your girl. Like, it really just came right off. And I'm so appreciative for that. And I really love it here. So if you love it here too, please give me a like, a comment, a share, a subscribe. And until next time.